Hello friends, welcome to today's video lecture on basic principles of polymerase chain reaction or PCR. I am Shoumen Bera, Assistant Professor in the School of Life Sciences, BS Abdur Rahman Crescent Institute of Science and Technology, Chennai. Today, I will be giving you a brief note on the basic working principles of PCR along with its different applications in the field of biotechnology. Now, let us first try to define PCR. PCR is a technique by which we can synthesize millions and millions copies of a particular DNA sequence starting from a single copy of target DNA known as template DNA. But before going to the details about the technique, let us first remember the inventor of this technique, Dr. Kary Mullis, who invented this technique in 1983, for which he has been awarded Nobel Prize in Chemistry in the year 1993. Now, what's in the name of PCR? Or polymerase chain reactions. This is because the only enzyme which we are using in this reaction is the DNA polymerase, and this is the only enzyme that is included in this reaction, and from there the technique got its first name. But why chain? Because the products of the first enzymatic reaction step becomes the substrate of the next one. Again, the product of the next one is becoming the substrate of the subsequent ones. So that is why it is also known as chain reaction. That is why the name chain. So now we got polymerase chain reaction. Now what are the different requirements for this reaction? Number one is the target DNA, the DNA that we need to amplify. Second requirement is a pair of primers, forward primer and reverse primers. Primers are nothing but oligonucleotides or a piece of single-stranded DNA. Remember, our own DNA, it is always double-stranded, but in these reactions, we will be using single-stranded DNA as primers. And the length of primers usually ranges between 18 and 35 base pair long. These primers are also used to define the sequence to be amplified from our target DNA. Next requirement are the four different DNTPs or deoxyribonucleotide triphosphates. They are actually the DNA building blocks. Actually, the DNA polymerase use these DNTPs to stitch one after another to synthesize the new DNA strand. The next requirement is the DNA polymerase. Friends, please note that we cannot use on any regular DNA polymerase. In PCR, we need a specific thermostable DNA polymerase. This is the prime requirement. Why? Because in the PCR, we will see that there are steps which require high temperatures, like it can go very high, where the normal or the regular DNA polymerases cannot function properly. So we need this specific thermostable DNA polymerase. Next are the magnesium ions. These are actually the cofactors or the helping hands for the DNA polymerase enzyme, without which the enzyme cannot function properly. Then the last requirement is the buffer solution. As we all know from our knowledge of chemistry that a buffer means a solution which maintains the pH and the ionic strength in a reaction medium. Here we need one buffer like that. Those are the chemical components, but now we also need some instruments. Like the first one here, we can see that this is actually a tip of aqua auto pipette. Okay, as in the PCR, we are going to handle very tiny amount of reaction components like few microliters of DNA, few microliters of the DNTP solutions, few microliters of the primers and every other solution. So they are very tiny volumes to handle, for which we need these auto pipettes, which are also called the micropipettes. Then the next requirement are these PCR tubes, which are very thin walled reaction tubes that can transfer heat very easily to the reaction components inside the tube. We need these instruments also, which are known as the thermocycler. These are the instruments which has thermal blocks where we can keep the reaction tubes, and then the cycler can raise the temperature or lower the temperature of these blocks in pre-programmed steps. So with all these chemicals and the instruments in hand, we can run the basic PCR. Now let us see what is the working principle of the reactions. Our purpose here is to synthesize a lot of double-stranded DNA molecules of same size and sequence by the enzymatic method by varying the temperature conditions. So what are these temperature cycles or the conditions that we are going to use? First is the denaturation step, where we are going to denature or separate the double-stranded DNA into single-stranded DNA by heating the reaction at around 95 degrees centigrade almost. Then we are going to the next temperature step. We are going to lower down the temperature where the primers are going to bind to these single-stranded template DNA. The specific temperature known as the annealing temperature. So this step is known as the annealing step or the primer annealing step. So the first step was the denaturation step, second step is the annealing. Third step is the extension step, where using the primer and the DNTPs available in the reaction, the DNA polymerase will synthesize the new DNA strand. The DNA polymerase will copy the complementary sequences of the template DNA into the new DNA strand. So now let us see what is actually happening in the PCR. Let us imagine this is a double-stranded DNA that we want to make millions of copies. So first what we are going to do, we are going to the first temperature cycle which I have mentioned here, the denaturation step. Okay, the 95 degree centigrade, which is 95 degree centigrade. So the double-stranded DNA is now denatured. That means double-stranded DNA getting converted to single-stranded DNA. The next step is, as we have mentioned, the annealing step, where we are lowering down the temperature from 95 to around 55 to 65 degrees centigrade, which will allow the primers, we have forward and the reverse primers, the primers to get annealed to their respective position on the template DNA. So this is the step which is annealing step, annealing of the primer. The next step is the extension step, where we are again increasing the temperature 72 degrees centigrade, which is actually the optimum temperature for the DNA polymerase we are using here in this reaction, which will use these primers and extend the DNA. So what after the end of this extension cycle, what we are getting? We are getting that, we are saying that from this one DNA molecule, double-stranded DNA molecule, we are getting two double-stranded DNA molecule. But the reaction is not complete yet. Again, we are repeating this three temperature cycle. What we are doing? We are going to denature these particular DNAs, which will now act as our template DNA. Remember, in the beginning of the discussion, we told that PCR is a chain reactions. The product of the first step becomes the substrate of the subsequent steps. So here again the denaturation will occur. So that means we have four different strands. 1, 2, 3, 4. Four different strands are again denatured. The next step, obviously the annealing step, where the primers are going to get bind one after another, the forward primer, the reverse primer. So this is the annealing step. Then again the next temperature cycle is the extension. See, the extensions are happening. Okay, so at the end of the second cycle, we are getting four different double-stranded DNA molecule, which is also our target DNA. Right? So that this is actually the basics of the polymerase chain reactions. So one DNA molecule can be, after two cycles, it is forming four molecules. So usually we run PCR for a number of cycles, something around 35 to 40 cycles, making millions of copies. We'll see the calculation later. All right, so now we are going to discuss some facts about this PCR. That was the basic reactions. So the enzyme, that is the thermostable DNA polymerase, is originally obtained from the bacteria Thermus aquaticus, which are actually the inhabitant of the hot spring water in Yellowstone National Park, USA. These organisms can survive almost boiling temperature. So that is why we are taking the polymerase from these cells. Next interesting thing here is the calculation, that here it is, as you have seen, that in the first we are starting with one molecule of DNA, which after the two different temperature cycle is giving four molecules. So the DNA of interest here is amplified by a power of 2 for each PCR cycle. For examples, for example, if after 5 cycles of PCR with one DNA template, the reaction will end up with 2 to the power 5 or 32 copies of DNA. We can easily imagine what is the power of this particular reaction, because usually the PCR, as I told you, is carried out for approximately something around 35 to 40 cycles. At the end of the 40 cycles, you can expect 2 to the power 40 DNA molecules of your target sequence, and this is the number. It's a huge. This is actually a representation of agarose gel electrophoresis, where we have loaded the PCR products in these lens. This technique is regularly used for analyzing the PCR products. Different sizes of PCR products will produce different banding pattern on the gel. We are not going to discuss this technique here today, but this is just to show how we can analyze whether the PCR has run properly, the product has formed properly. So there are various applications in different aspects of biotechnology we can make with this PCR. For example, to study DNA mutation, if you want to study any mutations, you can just design a specific primer, have some specific PCR conditions, run it, analyze it on the gel, and you can see the differences in the banding pattern. If you are working on drug discovery field, then you can analyze whether certain drug treatment is affecting your DNA, whether it is affecting your mRNA. So by the application of PCR, you can analyze how these drugs are affecting the DNA or mRNA pool of the patient. It can enable gene cloning. So here also PCR have its application. You can use this technique to clone a particular gene of interest into the specific vector. Pathogen detection, like if you know the the gene constitution of this pathogen, you just need to design the primer, and whenever there is an infection or in case of suspected infections, just collect the blood or the tissue samples from the infected host, do the PCR using the primer of the pathogen, and then see whether that particular pathogenic DNA is present or not. By knowing that, you can be sure that infection has occurred or not. Prenatal diagnosis, to analyze whether the developing embryo is having some defects or some genetic mutations or some genetic defects. Okay, DNA fingerprinting. which you can use to analyze a crime scene, whether the blood which is found in the crime scenes, they are matching with the suspected individual's DNA or not. So here also PCR have a very good application. So we come to the end of this lecture. Hope you have enjoyed this lecture about basic principles of polymerase chain reaction. If you have any questions, feel free to email me at the below email address. Thank you.